everyone, this is Jenny. Thank you for stopping by for a video that I'm hopefully going to start as a series for a few things I've been thinking about after the new year and sort of looking back through a bunch of my old scrapbook albums and books and things that I used to have, and just sort of observing trends that are coming and going and people that inspired me when I first started scrapbooking and how they have stuck around or sort of been the supermodels, if you will, of scrapbooking instead of Cindy Crawford and the people that are sort of, you know, when you think of supermodels of at least my age group, these were sort of the scrapbook supermodels for me, which were Heidi Swapp and Maggie Holmes, Allie Edwards, Kathy Zielski, people that were in lots of the Making a Memory books and other idea books before, way before Pinterest or, you know, much internet stuff, and sort of what interested me in scrapbooking to begin with. And I've been looking back through a lot of old products that I started with in the very beginning and seeing how the trends have started to sort of come back around, and I mean, sort of that idea, I guess, if you have a piece of clothing, you know, eventually if you hold on to your bell bottoms long enough, they'll come back in style. So I had pulled out a bunch of Heidi Swapp things because I'm so excited about the new stuff that was just at CHA, the 2015. So I pulled out a lot of old things, and I thought I would do a little series where it would sort of be a TBT Throwback Thursday, where I would try to do something every Thursday that was a pull out old products that I had before and maybe mix them with new things that are out from the same manufacturer, same designer, and try to come up with something that incorporated them both, or just to sort of revisit some of the old things I have that I refuse to get rid of. So with that in mind, I pulled out all of my Heidi Swapp stuff that I refused to get rid of, that I loved. This is one of her books that I just loved, and I looked at it earlier. It's 2007, which really doesn't seem that long ago. I mean, I guess it's, you know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago maybe when it came out, but it just seems like it was, I guess it feels like it was longer than that. At any rate, it's really neat to go back and look through. There's so many ideas and things in here that I loved and sort of started with and still think about, and so many things that I think are coming back into style. You know, die cuts and mists and vellums, transparencies, acrylics, things that, you know, either she did, lots of her handwriting and things that I thought were really neat that have all really come back to this sort of scripty style. So that's one of my favorite books that I loved and looked through all the time. And some of my other things that I had of hers were these phrase stamps that, I mean, these came out, you know, about the time that book did, or maybe even beforehand. And this is sort of the colors, this sort of pink and black, and this I thought was the best idea, and I use it all the time, not for what it's supposed to. It was a ribbon iron, a little mini iron for ribbons, which, you know, is great, but I use it all the time for when I hem pants and I just need to iron the little hem part while I'm pinning it. So that gets a lot of use of mine still. And this was the date stamp that I mean, obviously used piles of. Unfortunately, it only goes to 2009, so you can see that it doesn't get a lot of use unless it's just either for the month or, you know, old photographs. These were a lot of the acrylic shapes that she had. They were hearts, little labels, sort of label tags, crowns, butterflies, flowers, which are great. And at the time, you know, it was kind of sort of stapled on, or I didn't sew through things as much, so I haven't pulled those out in forever. I thought that would be fun to use. And then a lot of her stamps that are either this fun sort of block print, I've got it mounted to this vellum, or her script writing. There's cute baby moment and thank you. And these were stamps I used all the time for cards and everything else. I mean, you can see I used it with paint and ink and anything you can think of. So those are some of the older things I thought I would pull out and use for this project. And then some of the newer things I have are, and it's not the super new things, or not all of them, but I have lots of the little mini stencils and some of the little stamps. Another with all my heart stamp that comes with the stencil for that. I believe that's the one that goes with it. Another set of stamps that was sort of the September skies, or maybe a little bit after that. I've used a few of those. Some of these color shine cards, another stencil that I have used a pile of, a butterfly one I haven't used too much of. I haven't even touched this yet, so this is one of the things I'm really excited about using for this project, which is her Project Life kit, and it's the one that has watercolor paper and canvas cards and wood veneers, and so I thought I might use lots of that so that I can kind of manipulate the colors the way I want to. And another little sort of phrase sticker set. Some of these are pieces of other kits from Scrapbook Circle and things. Some of them are just things I bought on my own. These alphabet color shine pieces. Some other color shine pieces that are, they go along, even though they weren't together, they do go along with this same stamp set, the light bulb and some of those phrases, the camera and things. This was the set of mixed company paper, so I thought I might use some of these things like that tin and some of the colors I'm going to try and stick with. And then I have got a couple pieces from the September skies papers that I might use. So I am planning on trying to, oh, and I also have a bucket full of more die cuts and vellum pieces and things, lots of little butterflies and things I might use, or paint or mist, some other color shine pieces. I'm going to try and keep along with these lines. I've got the navy, the pink and mint colors of her ink. Probably not so much the navy, but I'll do the pink and mint. And then I have my tray of color shine, which, as you can see, is probably my most used mist. I do love the October afternoon sprinklers, which I think maybe there might be coming back with some soon. But other than that, these are my absolute favorite. I love that they have the ball shaker in the bottom so you can actually hear that it is shaking and you don't have to worry about the nozzle being clogged by too much shaking. And I'm on my third bottle of gold, and it's about 2/3 of the way finished, so that is clearly one of my favorites. I have a little mini album cover I did quite a while ago for my daughter's, a little mini album I was planning for her, and I hadn't really liked what I had done so far. I did this cover for the Scrap Friends or Creative Concepts design team, and had planned to fill it with some little pictures and things for her 10th year. Well, she will be 11 in March, so I decided it would be a good time to go ahead and start to try to finish this. And I thought I would try and do sort of a series of photographs of her and maybe write little things to her about her 10th year and sort of make it kind of a little personal project, not just sort of recording things that are going on while she was 10, but maybe more as a little private book for her to look through. And I had bought the class from Wilna Furstenberg for the Valentine's mini albums, the Love mini albums, and I had seen it before, and then I watched it again and really got inspired by one of the books that she made, because she kept it really simple, and she did a sort of line where she just sort of lined everything up, and she did the same kind of, you know, background papers, and she cut little pieces of things, and she put photographs on top of them, and she kept it simple, but it was uniform, and it all went together. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking. I had taken some photos of my daughter for a sort of resume thing we were putting together, and I printed them all out and sized them to be 3x4. So I've got 6 photos all together once I cut them up, and and I printed them out in black and white because the colors that she was wearing were really red and black and very bright. But I thought they would be a great contrast to these sort of light pinks and gold and mint colors, and that's what I'm going to try and keep with a lot of the things that are in that color family, and in a lot of the products that I've got. So other than that, I may use some sequins, some doilies, and modeling paste, and I'm just going to try to put something together in sort of an assembly line and have some fun with it, and we will see where we end up. So I'm going to get everything set up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've kind of come up with a plan for what I think I might do. I kind of randomly went with one size of some scrap paper from some white cardstock I had that I thought I might use in combination with some pattern paper. So I cut up my pictures, and then I went through some of the papers and cut 7 3/4 by 7 3/4 square papers, just to have a little bit of a border inside the 8x8 album. So I cut these kind of neutral papers that will probably have the picture in it and some other things that, you know, so that's just sort of a background piece. And I cut a few pieces of just white cardstock in the same size if I wanted to put a pattern on top of that, or mist or stamp something on top of it. Then these are just some of the pieces I have that were this odd size. I think it's 6x8 maybe. So that may be trimmed down. And then I found some a little piece of some embossed vellum, and I thought I might do some embossed vellum on top of the pattern paper or something like that as a you know, maybe a mat for the photo. And I thought what I would do is to have a tag. Where did I put my tags? To have one of these tags on the back side of the page. So this would be just the photo and maybe a little bit of embellishment, and then the back side would have this, like a tag like this, and maybe some stamping, and a little bit of journaling on each side. So every page, or the 2 pages that face each other, will be a little bit similar, so I can kind of have a formula for how I'm going to put it together. I think that'll be a little bit easier to come up with something. So I thought what I would do is to kind of go through. I've got a couple embossing folders here that are a bigger polka dot, smaller polka dot, and then I've got a smaller text and a large text. I may just use the polka dot since I've already got this love text print. So I thought I would emboss those, and then go ahead and open up some of these Project Life cards and maybe mist some of those that would go on top of the white cardstock base. So I'm going to kind of just, and then I'm going to take some of these blank, oh there's the, I went ahead and took that metal tie off of those tags. So then I thought I would take some of these blank color shine little embellishment labels and things like that, and stamp some of these older label stamps or phrase stamps in them, or some of the newer ones, and just kind of make a whole bunch of them of things that could possibly be used. I may or may not use them all. I may sort of distressing some of them or miss them. I'm not quite sure, but I thought I would just go ahead and make a bunch of embellishments in kind of that same color family, and then I can kind of lay everything out and see what it is I'm going to use and not use. I do have these hearts that are part of a scrapbook circle kit I thought I might use, so those will be a little bit different. And I'm not sure about these, I'm not sure about the wood veneers, unless I really maybe almost paint them black or stain them dark. I don't know if I want that much texture in the middle of it, since I really don't have a lot of other wood. And then I love these small cards, but they are, I think they might be watercolor. I think they are, which would be good if I can water, oh they are, so I could watercolor those, because I don't really want too much of the, it's got more of a white base and I want to keep that, so I don't want too much of that cream part in there. So I'm going to kind of just embellish a lot of these labels and mist them and emboss things, and then kind of set everything aside and start to put everything together. Okay, I sped this up a whole lot. It's 14 times normal speed, which looks a little cartoonish and ridiculous, but there is a lot of this video, and I don't think anybody would keep watching if I talked through all of it. So I will probably stop at some point and just have some music playing. But this is just me going ahead and trying to pick out which of these 4x6, I think, or maybe they're the 3x4 Project Life cards, and then to mist, and then I'm going to go ahead and mist everything and paint everything and let that dry while I assemble the rest of everything else. So I decided I was going to go with gold, the primrose or blush, and then the mint color. So I sort of did them in twos and laid everything out, and then I just covered another one with a paper towel. I didn't shake it as much as I should have, or probably, since I'm aiming down, it's not as level, and so I do get some splotchy stuff, but that doesn't bother me. The only thing that was weird was the gold really, it wiped off way too much on, and I probably shouldn't have used it on one of the bigger pieces, but it wiped off a lot more than I wanted to. It turned out to be one of the ones that just sort of was very neutral in the background, so it was okay, but it was kind of odd. And this is me using those We Are Memory Keepers embossing folders to emboss this vellum that I'm going to use. So I run those, several pieces of that, through my Big Shot, and I never really thought too much about embossing vellum before, but it was really fun. It was another texture layer, but it was also transparent, and it kind of helped tone down some of the colors from the color shine that were a little bit bright. So this is using some of the older stamps, script stamps that she had from a long time ago, and then some of the newer ones, and I stamped those out on some of the tags that I just was going to write over them. Then I used one of these stencil stamps and some distress ink, and I love the way that one turned out, and inked over the top of it, and I did that for a couple other ones. So I try to kind of do things in twos, two of the script stamps, two of these embossed sort of stencils. Then I took a piece of this, piece of one of those other stencils with the polka dots on it, and that mint ink of hers, and did that on one of the tags. And now I'm going to decide to watercolor these, and I did the same sort of thing, one mint, one pink, and then I did a couple sort of neutral like yellows, or tried to do a little peach. Those colors are pretty muted because of it being watercolor, so that turned out okay. So you see how bright that teal is, and putting the vellum on top of that really helped tone that down and keep it still a little bit more subtle. But this is where the gold totally wiped off that one tag, and it was kind of disappointing. So now that I've got all my pieces sort of sitting out, I'm kind of trying to decide what's going to go with what, and I try to mix everything up so there's one sort of color of each of those three on a page. And I was trying to decide, I just ended up kind of mixing it up a bit and didn't do one specific formula for just each tag, each, you know, piece of vellum, each whatever. So that kind of just gets mixed up a little bit on the pages depending on what it is. So now I'm trying to count out how many pages I'm going to need, and I just start fiddling, and it takes a long time of fiddling because I couldn't decide how I wanted to do my journaling. And what I decided to do was to have a little piece of advice for my daughter on each sort of tag. And so I couldn't decide whether I wanted those hidden or not, so I kind of go through that process. But I rounded the corners on just about everything because I wanted it to be a little subtle, and there were a lot of the rounded corners already on her Project Life cards and things. That was a heart that I had used that stencil for with some modeling paste that I actually had used for a previous project and ended up having it, and it matched that color perfectly just by accident. So I put that there, and then I used the watercolor cards, or just at least sort of one thing on each of the pages, and I paint gold around the edges of it to give a little bit of a pop of gold and to give it a little bit of definition around those edges. So that's the layered vellum on top of that color, which I think really helps. I mean, some of it's poking out, but I think it still makes it sort of subtle. So now that I kind of have one or two of them done, I kind of get comfy and start to kind of, you know, pick up a bit on how I'm going to work this out. I did find this piece of vellum, I think it was from a Studio Calico Lemon Lush pack, and it's maybe the sort of blue color. It's there on the left, and it's the perfect color of sort of that mint green color. So that was another piece of vellum that was not embossed, but just worked out to be a nice mix. I ended up, I tried to stamp, I'm sorry, not stamp, I tried to print out on those tags, and my printer, the ink kind of blurred it, so I ended up handwriting everything. And some of them are just sort of, I think maybe one of them is the only one that's sort of hidden, or sort of a piece that you have to pull out, and the rest of it isn't. Alright, so I'm pretty sure you're tired of me talking, so I'm going to let you listen to some music and just watch me in super fast forward mode, and I will come back and talk a little bit more towards the end of the video. Okay, I'm here at the end and just trying to put everything back together. I actually take the first inside sheet and the last inside sheet and adhere them to the canvas cover itself. Then line everything up and use the holes that were in the cover and my crocodile to punch the holes for the rings. I usually sew on a lot of my pages, and I meant to do that here, but I waited too long, and so I actually ended up only using the first die cut, the sort of watercolor die cut, and sewed a little pocket for the first journal tag. I also want to mention that a lot of the quotes and some of the ideas that I got for the quotes and the things I wrote on there are actually from a couple different blogs that I found on Pinterest. Some of them I took directly, some of them are sort of a variation, and some are things that I wrote just myself. So I will link those or list those below at the end of the video. I took this, I actually wrote on this very last page, just making some faint lines for a guide, and then erased the pencil marks from that. And I'm pleased with the way it came out. I think it'll be a nice little gift for my daughter's 11th birthday. If you're still watching to the very end here, I really appreciate all the I appreciate you watching it to the very end, and I appreciate the comments and feedback you might have. And hopefully next Thursday it will be a shorter version of maybe just a scrapbook layout or a card. Here are the stills of each page and a little detail from each shot. And I really appreciate you coming back to watch another video. Thanks so much.